Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the 3AM Files, and all I have to say is...
God damn it. God damn it.
It's the same kind of snack, too. I made it a point to buy that. I hope everyone listening to this is very hungry now.
Literal worst. Literal worst.
Anyway, I'm Connor McGraw. This episode, we're talking about mysterious deaths. And if you aren't familiar with the show, because it's only in the second episode, this format is we all bring a story to the table. We don't tell each other what it is, and we kind of unveil it as we go around the table and talk about it. So, yeah it's the most
sometimes there's
we've ever done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So tonight's theme is mysterious deaths, and I'm Connor McGraw. Who else is here?
Arlen Harrow.
I'm Eric Fedorczyk, and I demand to drink the mummy goo.
And I'm Lou Gonzalez. The key to immortality is first living a life worth remembering.
Damn.
That's a tease to my mysterious death.
I've got
Interesting. Interesting. It sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
Okay, anybody want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'll set the bar for us. All right.
Wow.
So, we'll see how high or low bar I set. So this one is about United States Air Force Colonel Philip Shue. Does that sound familiar to any of you?
I've got no fucking idea who that is.
No idea.
All right. So the story goes that seemed like a normal, ordinary guy. If I remember correctly from what I read, he was actually a doctor within the Air Force. So, he had odd hours. Sometimes he would go in later in the afternoon, so on and so forth. His wife had said that normal morning, they were up relatively early. They had coffee in bed. He said goodbye to her. He said he loved her, and that was the last thing she heard before he died in a terrible car wreck.
Oh.
Now, the thing is with his car wreck that was a little bit odd because it seemed that it was a suicide. Like he had been displaying erratic and paranoid behavior, and people basically thought that, he killed himself. Something that was a little bit odd about the crash, though, was that, he had a 6-inch gash from his chest to his navel. He had remnants of duct tape on both his ankles and his wrists. He had part of a finger severed and an earlobe missing, and his nipples were gone.
Oh, that happens in car accidents all the time. What do you mean? This is totally run of the mill.
They did not find his nipples, or they were somewhere else?
Were gone.
They were just gone?
Okay.
They were gone.
Now, what size? Are we talking about like dimes or big pepperoni?
I don't know. They didn't go into that.
I don't think it matters when they're gone. It just matters.
It's a lot more flesh to consider.
I mean, this is true. Yeah.
Apparently, the investigators claim that this happened. Either Shue inflicted it to himself before the car wreck, or it happened during the car wreck, which sounds asinine. And there was also apparently a large amount of anesthetic that was found in his system, but a doctor that was hired by his wife completely disavowed that finding because there was no sign of entry for a syringe, and the amount that was in his system wasn't enough that it would actually numb the pain from any of that stuff happening. Now, the thing that's interesting with his is that his ex-wife, Nancy, had a $1 million life insurance policy on him that she'd bought out from him before they got divorced. But she's been open and claiming that she had nothing to do with it. I mean, mind you, she wouldn't sell it back to him. But it seems really odd that all these things happened before he was in a car accident.
The 6-inch gash from... Would you say his throat to his navel?
From his chest to his navel.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like just a straight line, like down, like.
Apparently, yeah.
So he has. You
don't sustain that injury in a car crash.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
no.
Also, where are his nipples?
Exactly. like the one prevailing theory was that he had been taken and tortured, and that would be what the duct tape remnants were for.
I can already place a theory for the anesthetic, at least what little there was. Taken, tortured, slightly sedated, and thrown into traffic.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So,
definitely seems it.
There was no internal organs missing. It's just a cut and then his nipples.
Well, and he had
And a
like
finger,
a finger and an earlobe. Yeah.
That's torture. That sounds like you're trying to
That's
take pieces of
torture,
somebody.
Yeah. I mean, one of the more interesting things too was that he had received 2 anonymous letters saying like something along the lines of "you're in danger" or "you're going to be killed," which once again points back to his wife who had this $1 million policy, but she seemed too open about everything to be also a real suspect.
That's a lot of work to just get an insurance policy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And
like he didn't need to do that. Yeah.
Well, there was also there was an independent. Well, no, it wasn't independent. It was there was court and jurors agreed that it was suicide, which makes me kind of think that there was something maybe with the military going on.
So wait, when was this?
This was back in 2005.
Whoa.
Okay. Wow. And where was
spring
this
of 2005. This
I'm thinking 1970 or something.
Yeah, I was thinking the 50s at first. Okay, so where was this again?
I'm trying to find it. This was in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not far from San Antonio. It happened in 2003. He was laid to rest in 2005. No, that's not right.
So,
that can't be right. But anyways, yeah.
Well, no, it could have been a very, very long investigation where they didn't hand over the body.
Yeah.
Because it's military.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, my thought again, I believe torture, could a foreign thing have gone a hold of him to get secret? They said what he worked on in the military? What was his job?
that was nothing that they really went into in the articles I found. They did, like I said, they talked about him being a doctor of some sort within the Air Force, but that was it. And I mean, I know my wife's one coworker, her husband was a military doctor within the Air Force. And he apparently was all over the place. But I don't think it would be somebody who's really getting into anything too deep.
You'd have to be some kind of high level. You have to have some high level affiliations, I imagine. To be a target of torture from a foreign.
Right.
The only other explanation I could think of is that he got into some really hardcore BDSM.
Maybe.
And that went really, really awry. And that's not uncommon for a man who's got a lot of power in the military.
He was a psychiatrist.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Maybe one of his fucking clients.
Patients,
Yeah,
maybe. And it could be that something was told to him by a client within the military. And
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it seems like his ex-wife would be the most obvious answer because she was the one who held the life insurance policy. Mm-hmm. But that seems like a pretty...
If you were going to do that, you wouldn't take his nipples.
No.
Right.
Why would you torture him for life insurance? You just kill him.
Yeah.
Also, the nipple thing is like...
I love how Lou's fixating the nipples.
Because
it is odd.
If you were going to torture someone, the finger makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would you just continue with the fingers?
You would think, or toes,
or putting things under your nails. Yeah. The nipples are not.
The thing is, torture is weird if you're just going to murder the guy afterwards. If you're going to get him into a car wreck.
But that's the thing. The amount of anesthetic he had in him, it wasn't enough to affect him to the point that he wouldn't be able to drive.
It'd be a painkiller, basically.
Yeah,
right.
But even then, the doctor that was hired by his then current wife, not his ex-wife, had said that no, this wouldn't be enough to numb the pain.
It really depends, though, on when that testing was done.
To not have any motor skills.
I don't know.
Well, he could also not have motor skills because of the pain he's in.
Yeah,
from the lack of nipples and finger.
I should have written it down because they mentioned what the type of painkiller was.
I was going to ask what the
it was. It was Lidocaine, something along those lines.
Lidocaine?
Yes, lidocaine. Yes.
Lidocaine is it's a nerve
block.
topical.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's what we use lidocaine for in our field. We use it for skin growth removals, small masses, and we use it for dental extractions.
Yeah. I have stuff when my dog used to run a lot when he would jack up his paw, his pads, and we put a lidocaine salve on them.
Yeah, we have
it's a numbing.
We have a numbing ointment at work. I can't remember it's brand name. I think it's lidocaine cream. Essentially, is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like the one I have is like kind of Vaseline because like here's one of the things though. If you're torturing someone, why the nipples? Because they're just basically flesh. No. Like hear me out here. They're basically just flesh. There's no difference in like the nerves or anything. There's no difference in cutting off another piece of skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
to give you an idea of the reputation of the pathologist that his now widow hired, it was Dr. Cyril Wecht, who brought his profile. Yeah, he brought his expertise to cases ranging from the assassination of JFK to the death of Anna Nicole Smith.
This guy's a fucking untrustworthy piece of shit. Is what you're telling me.
Is this the same guy that disputes the Secret Service agent thing that we were talking about in the last episode?
I don't believe so. Like, I believe this is an actually respected pathologist. Like, this isn't a crazy person. Like, he's the one who brought up that there's no injection site identified by the pathologist in the original autopsy, and no syringe found or anything like that. Because for the lidocaine to actually still be in his system, at least to the extent that they were trying to claim in the prior autopsy, he would have had to injected it while he was in the car.
Well, yeah, and lidocaine is I've never, unless it's the ointment, the cream, I've never seen lidocaine just like given orally or like
it doesn't do. It's like doesn't do enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a nerve block, so even ingesting it, like it's not gonna do anything.
That's why like I'm kind of coming more to like the BDSM because like you can.
BDSM is where I'm leaning to. The other place I could go if we really want to go out there is aliens. Just because of the descriptions and what was taken. A lot of alien cases have similar stories. I've heard of animals with their nipples removed. I know that I have somewhere.
I would love to know if they did a full tox screen.
Here's a breakdown of lidocaine, because I knew lidocaine is a local anesthetic and also has analgesic qualities, which is it's a painkiller. It's not like lidocaine is not designed to make you loopy, so that kind of throws anything about like lack of mechanical skills out the fucking window.
Yeah, because that's what I was like. I wonder
anti-inflammatory properties, analgesic, and a local anesthetic. So it's for small procedures.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you were like. I wonder what the toxicology report is, because maybe he was on other stuff that they maybe didn't test for.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Like, is he on some sort of like amphetamine or
MDMA?
Like, is he on like
poppers? Tortured for information, gave what he had to say, was let go, and just from the amount of pain he was in, or just from bad fucking luck, got into a car accident.
Yeah, might be.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like
you have to be like. Suicide is the weirdest fucking thing about this.
It takes like a lot to be that impaired to just like drive your car and like kill yourself.
Exactly.
Like it takes a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you're missing a finger and an earlobe and your nipples.
Mm-hmm.
The adrenaline that's pumping through your system at that point to get to a hospital would probably be intense. Like I think you would probably be awake the whole time.
That was the other thing, though. His wife had said, like, where his car was found, he was driving away from San Antonio.
What the fuck?
Yeah. That makes me think, like, see, the duct tape makes you think that it was
about something that he was trying to fucking leave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The duct tape makes you think that somebody else had to be involved.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
He might have had information on somebody.
Well, he's a psychiatrist. He's listening to people.
Yeah, if I had to guess, he had information on a general or somebody very high up, but not high up enough to get like professional guys to come in and take this dude out. So he had to hire like privates off the base or something to that effect, or
pay a sex worker like that he knew this guy was into.
A particularly bloodlusty mob member.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Or just a random dude off the streets, Fargo style. You know, just like
me, I'm gonna cut your nipples off.
Yeah, he just hires a very Steve Buscemi looking guy, and
I mean,
and
his
that other dude.
his first wife did plead the fifth 20 times during an investigation, or at least a trial with her for the involvement within the case. But I don't know. I don't know. It seems like a very far extent to go to murder a man.
Yeah. I mean,
And if you're
to
gonna
go
murder him,
along
just do
with
it.
Fargo
Why the
thing.
6-inch
Exactly.
gash? Why the finger? Why the ears? Why the nipples?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like clearly he was restrained. That's
Yeah.
that's within the realm of possibility and probably a death
Yeah.
hint.
Yeah, I think that's a given.
Also,
I mean, I think you'd have
arms
to.
arms above his head, leg tied around his ankles. Like, what's that 6-inch gash? Might have been the first thing they did. Like, hey, talk.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just giving a barometer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is the literal bar we're setting.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna draw it on your chest.
So yeah, I mean that one. This could have very easy answers to it, but just everything surrounding it is just so weird. Like, just so weird.
Mine is similar in that respect. And if you want to transition to mine now, we can.
Yeah,
sure.
So, all right, mine is called the Tom and Should case, or sometimes called the Somerton Man.
Oh, I think I've heard of this before.
Basically, I'm going to read the opening blurb from Wikipedia here. So, the Tom and Should case, also known as the Mystery of the Somerton Man, is an unsolved case of an unidentified man found dead at 6:30 a.m. December 1st, 1948 in the Somerton Park beach just south of Adelaide, South Australia. The case is named after the Persian phrase "Tom and Should," meaning ended or finished, which was printed on a scrap of paper found 4 months later in the fob pocket of the man's trousers. The scrap is torn from the final page of a copy of Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, authored by 12th century poet Omar Khayyam. Tommen was misspelt as Tamam was misspelled as Tommen in many early reports, and this error has often been repeated, leading confusion about the name in the media. Basically, this guy was found by, I think, somebody first, and they thought he was sleeping because he was basically asleep against like a rock, or he was laid with his hands across his chest, like folded.
And he wasn't, if I remember correctly, he's not that old, right?
No, there's a picture of him.
He's like in his 60s, I think.
He's like no, he's like 33. He
doesn't look that old. Fully dressed without any means of identification on him, and like people passed him and like, oh, that guy's asleep. And I think by the end of the day, someone was like, that guy's been there all fucking day.
Right.
He drank a lot of Australian beer.
Yeah, and then just
which at the time was just a mash.
And the earth claimed him.
Just Foster's.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, but they didn't refine it into beer. They just we're half done. That'll be good enough.
He died because everyone kept saying, that's not a this.
We brew our beer in dead shark bellies.
That's not a beer. This is a beer.
So his death occurred at the time of the heightened international tension found at the beginning of the Cold War. Scotland Yard got involved, and there are theories on theories on theories on theories on theories. I'm not even sure if it was ever discovered how this guy died.
Hey, he just was dead.
He was just dead. Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
We have an autopsy. The heart was normal size, normal in every way. Small vessels not commonly observed in the brain were easily discernible with congestion. There was a congestion of the pharynx, and the gullet was covered with whitening superficial layers of the mucosa with a patch of ulceration in the middle of it. The stomach was deeply congested. There was congestion in the second half of the duodenum. There was blood mixed with the food in the stomach. Both kidneys were congested, and the liver contained a great excess of blood in its vessels. The spleen was strikingly large, about 3 times normal size. There was destruction at the center of the liver lobules revealed around the microscope. Acute gastritis, hemorrhage, extensive congestion of the liver and spleen, and the congestion of the brain. So you had lots of like internal nonsense going on, but I'm not sure there was ever an actual like, oh yeah, he was strangled, or he was poisoned, or he was shot, or he was bludgeoned. Because I don't think there's any actual
sometimes people
trauma.
just die.
Well,
yeah,
like yes and no, but like what year was this again?
1948.
48.
So like medical science at that time, like you could have had a brain aneurysm, or
I mean, this could just be the result of a bad diet, which is a thing that people died of at this time.
Here we go. There was a discovery of a suitcase on January 14th in 1949. I'm going to read this from Wikipedia too. Staff at the Adelaide railway station discovered a brown suitcase with its label removed. which had been checked into the station cloakroom after 11 a.m. on November 30th, 1948. It was believed that the suitcase was owned by the man found on the beach. In the case were a red checked dressing gown, a size 7 red felt pair of slippers, 4 pairs of underpants, pajamas, shaving items, a light brown pair of trousers with the sand in the cuffs, an electrician's screwdriver, a table knife cut down to a short, sharp instrument, a pair of scissors with sharpened points, a small square of zinc thought to have been used as a protective sheath for the knife and scissors, and a stenciling brush as used by third officers on an emergent ship or stenciling cargo. Also in the suitcase was a thread card of Barber brand orange wax thread of an unusual type, not available in Australia. It was the same that was used to repair the lining in the pocket of the trousers the dead man was wearing. All identification marks in the clothing had been removed, but police found the name T. Keen on a tie, Keen on a laundry bag, and Keen on a singlet. Along with
a singlet?
A singlet.
Like a wrestling
singlet?
I believe so.
No, it's like a waistcoat, like the old vests that you see.
So this is not the Iron Sheik's great.
No, he's not.
Yeah, and that's the other part of the thing is that on all of his clothing, all the tags have been removed. Any discernible identification, anything on his body was forcibly removed.
In the 40s, though, like it's not like branding, like brand as in like brand names was a thing as much as it is.
No, but it also would have been able to give you an idea of where the clothing came from.
Yeah. Anything that could identify his clothing or his person was removed.
Because
and this note was hidden in a pocket.
See, but here's the thing: so it's Australia. I think you said like he's Persian or something, right? Ethnically?
No, he was white.
Oh, he's white.
Yes.
Yeah, he looks like he could be from anywhere in the. I hate saying this, the white world.
Tom and Should is from the final page of a book called Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, authored by a 12th century poet, Omar Khayyam. And Tom and Should means ended or finished.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at this guy.
This feels like a hit that's like this is like a hit. This guy, he was messing with something he shouldn't have, and somebody killed him. That's the most realistic explanation that I can think of to this. Because
there is a bit something else I have here. Following a public appeal by police, the book from which the page had been torn was located. On the inside back cover, detectives were able to read in indentations from handwriting a local telephone number, an unidentified number, and a text that resembled an encrypted message. The text has not been deciphered or interpreted in any way that satisfies authorities on the case.
Yep.
Oh, he was found on the beach.
Yeah.
I like looking through the pictures and shit.
Now, my theory is that dude drank a whole bunch of mummy juice. And the cipher just is like Ralphie's cipher from Christmas Story, except it's just whatever the guy's name is. Remember to drink your mummy juice.
Right. Remember to drink your. There's a word for it for the black goo that, or I cannot remember, but yeah, that's what happened.
I guess. Yeah. I feel like the most obvious answer, like the Occam's razor thing, is that he's some guy who got drunk, sat there, and died from whatever, like heart disease that they didn't know about at the time. And he was just a nobody.
He might be a nobody. He might just be a crazy person.
While the extra work for the letter, the book.
He's just a crazy person. Like, he's just a nobody crazy person.
Yeah, I mean,
people are reading into things just because it's interesting.
I mean, both are possible. But here's the thing:
I'm saying that's like the Occam's razor thing.
Sure, but I think there's an in between that's maybe even more probable for me, which is that Australia is very close to Indonesia and Malai, and I'm not sure if they were a British colony at the time or not. But that's a Muslim country that I believe speaks of.
Indonesia is one of the largest Muslim countries in the world.
Yes,
and they speak because it's technically like South Asia, but it's like in between India and China, like and Japan.
Yes,
so they would speak they wouldn't speak anything Arabic. They would speak like probably some form of like Chinese.
I think they speak Chinese. They speak Indonesian, which is part of the Malay family. And I do think that they would, in the same way that some people in America can speak Latin because of religious practices, I'm sure there are people who speak Arabic languages or what's the Persian version? I think it's just Persian.
Urdu.
Farsi. Or Urdu. Yeah, they probably speak one of those three languages. I would imagine.
Something
also.
Something I'm seeing here, Connor, that you neglected to mention was
I was getting to more stuff.
Okay, go ahead. What
were you going to say in case I was on the same thing or about to get to it?
About some of the stuff about the reorganization of Australian security agencies around the time.
That was the next. That was one of the next things I was going to say. There was also where was that? His death coincided. Yeah, his death coincided with the reorganization of Australian security agencies, which would culminate the following year with the founding of the Australian Security Intelligence Organization. This would be followed by a crackdown on Soviet espionage in Australia, which was revealed by intercepts of Soviet communications under the Venona project.
Yep.
Oh.
So
Also,
maybe he was a Soviet spy?
Potentially.
Possibly.
And there was a post-inquest. So years after the burial, flowers began appearing on the grave. Police questioned a woman seen leaving the cemetery, but she claimed she knew nothing of the man. About the same time, Ina Harvey, a receptionist from the Strathmore Hotel opposite Adelaide Railway Station, revealed that a strange man had stayed in room 21 or 23 for a few days from the time of the death. Checking out on November 30th, 1948. He died, or he was found on... What day was that? December 1st, 1948.
Yeah. Which is actually summer there. Just for anybody who's going to...
Yeah.
So he could be a Soviet spy. That is, they're using a cipher, using the whatever the book is, and that the phrase in his pocket is the key to the cipher.
Yeah. That could be. Yeah.
I fucking solved it.
Well, I think the other solution is, as I said, he might have been their agent assigned in Indonesia. And that might have just been something he was working on at that moment, involving.
And because the security crackdowns, if he was found out in the country by the wrong people or the right people, they might have quietly put an end to that dude.
Yeah, and brought him back to the beach in Somerton. Because where is? I need to look this up. Is Somerton northern or southern?
If he is a Soviet spy, and the Australians found him, why would they just leave him out there for this to become a thing?
They wouldn't. That's the thing. They wouldn't kill him unless he killed himself. They would want to put him on trial the same way that America did public trials at the time. They would want
to. That's what I'm saying. If the right people
draw it out,
which would be, well, I guess it doesn't matter right or wrong, but like,
if like MI5 or whatever, like James,
if his allies, like maybe Russian allies, like you're close to being found out, so we're gonna tie up loose end. Or some Australian spooky government officials were like, get rid of this fucking dude and just make it quiet.
Yeah, or his cover is blown and he just takes his little pill to end his own thing and chills at the beach and watches the sunset.
Well, and that's the thing too, to say that the Americans would be, or the Australians would be like the Americans, that they would want to have a trial. That's not necessarily true.
Sure.
The OSS got up to some real hinky shit.
Well, it's like, right. An Australian isn't really, because at that time they would still be very connected to the British Empire.
Right. Yep.
So it wouldn't want to be the Australian government, it would be England.
If they found a high level spy like that, a lot of the time they did want trials. The Rosenbergs being a prime example. But again,
that's America though.
The UK is slightly different. That's true. But I don't know. There was a lot of public mudslinging and trying to make the other side look as bad as you can.
The fact that there's no torture evidence, there's no gunshot, leads me to believe that either he died of some sort of natural causes or he took his own life.
Yeah, that's
so. My thought is that if he is like the spy thing, if we're going with, he sat down and let it come to him, like that kind of old. It reminds me, was it Godfather 2 with like, the old things they used to like drink a bottle of wine and lay in a warm bath.
Yeah,
like it's kind of that thing.
Where this place is?
What's that?
You were asking.
Arlen was asking.
Yeah, I did look at it's Adelaide.
It's
like
it is the fucking the testicles of Australia. Like
it's very southern. So I think he knew he was found out. He went to Adelaide, and like Lou said, he probably drank quite a bit. He just like went and had a Jesus's last supper type situation. And
he wanted to keep his nipples.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. And if he was on any medication, which he might have been, medication that stopped bleeding in his stomach, he might have just said, fuck it. I'm not.
I was going to say, like, the bleeding in the stomach is weird. And, like, some of the ulceration and, like, what was it?
I feel like there's
the
definitely
congestion of certain organs sounds weird.
Mm-hmm.
But it
I
also
feel like
doesn't
that's
sound like, hey, that's just completely out of the ordinary.
I feel like that's like not cyanide, but like another thing you could take that would do that.
I mean, it could just be alcohol poisoning also. If you have I know from experience, if you have a bad stomach and you just say, I'm just going to do whatever I can to fuck it up in one night.
Poe was drunk to death, wasn't he?
Yeah, he drowned on his own.
He drowned in like a puddle.
He was also allergic to alcohol.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the severe ulceration could also just be from severe stress and having a really bad ulcer and having a ridiculous amount of stomach acid, which would coincide with probably having to try and, I don't know, be a fucking spy.
Right. Yeah.
The thing is, like, his positioning is like very peaceful. Like he's sitting on the beach, like with his back against the thing and looking out at the ocean.
Yeah.
Right. That is not how an enemy would you would treat an enemy.
Well,
exactly.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: like, what if it wasn't an enemy? What if it was someone what if it was a trusted ally who was like, we have to do what we have to do.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. Maybe it's like my mentality of that. It's like when you're in that situation, if you're one of those people, like you kind of are left to do it on your own. Like when you're like disavowed.
Yeah.
Like you kind of take that.
Well, it would depend though.
Yeah. If he's a Russian and it's a Russian taking him out, I could see them letting him go out that way, maybe, but they'd have to be like close. Like,
well, I could see it being like you have two options: you can go out quiet or you can go out loud. Which way do you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the fact that there's like no signs of like outward physical violence does a lot to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still had his nipples.
Yeah. And all his fingers and his ears were intact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And no duct tape.
Yeah. They didn't have it in Australia.
And it was the line says like acute gastritis hemorrhage. So like, yeah, it's bleeding the stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or your intestines or your digestive tract. Like,
so he drank like an entire bottle of wine and I don't know what
whiskey.
liquors they drink. I would imagine it would be whiskey. So he drank a whole thing of whiskey and probably whatever. Heinz 57 in terms of alcohol.
Just to reiterate some of this stuff, there was destruction in the center of his liver lobules. The spleen was huge.
Mm-hmm.
The liver contained great excess of blood in the vessels, which sounds like there was a lot of activity going on there. Blood in the stomach, congestion in the duodenum. This all sounds like intestinal tract and like lower, like internal abdominal, like not trauma, but like malfunctions.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like heavy alcohol use because enlarged spleen can be caused by psoriasis.
Yeah. Okay. Again, to go to like the simplest answer, he could have just been some foreigner that came there and went to go do something, didn't get his, like if he's in a suit, like try to get a job, didn't get it, and then just drank himself to death finally on the beach.
Yeah,
I think that was eventually glossed over because of the note, the page.
Yeah, it's a good story.
Yeah, because that like finished or ended is like, yeah, job's done. And if it's put there by someone else, you want someone to find that body, you want someone to find the note.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
and
if it's him doing the note, it's him saying, "Well, yeah, I burned all the evidence. Nobody knows who I am."
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. And that's where I think he was able to choose to go out his own way as opposed to being forced to be taken out. Like he was being given the if the spy aspect is the way to go, like he was probably given the like, hey, you're too hot of a commodity for us to have. Like, you know what you have to do. And especially if he was working for the Russians, he would just be like, yep, cool, got it. pop this pill, drink this bottle, I'm good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the thing is, like, we could talk about this theoretically for about an hour and a half because there is information on information on information, but it's all stuff that happened afterwards.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's enough information to go off in a million directions, but there's also so little information that there's no way to prove any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like the thing I almost picked was the Lindbergh baby.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Because that has like it's like there is a resolution, there's no resolution.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
the baby, and they're like, oh yeah, it's the Lindbergh baby, and you still had people years later who's like, no, I'm the Lindbergh baby. It's like, okay, well now we have to prove you wrong.
Well,
And, like,
now
the
there's
ransomware-
DNA testing that proves all that.
Yeah, like the people
Which-
who kidnapped the baby were never caught, and all this other weird shit, and like,
Which, if you want to listen to something fun, to just go off topic a little bit, there's a newer podcast called what the hell is it called? I've just been listening to Con Artists, and they did a 2-part series on the woman claiming to be Anastasia Romanoff.
oh god, that's
Oh, yeah.
And it was really interesting because that woman was fucking cuckoo bananas.
Oh,
Mm.
every person who's claimed to be the Lindbergh baby or Anastasia is out of their fucking mind.
Oh, she smashed her own face in to rip out her teeth because her teeth didn't match.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, she was just some poor Polish woman, but like she looked enough Romanoff-ian. I don't know how you want to say that. Like it fit. And literally every time they brought in like
Romanovish.
a royal, they were like, "No, you're not a Romanov."
No, especially because
Okay.
I think some people have even debated whether or not this girl even existed.
No, they know Anastasia existed, and then but the problem was is that because of the way the Russian Revolution happened, it was extremely brutal. So the people involved did not want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then when they found the first site burial, there had been bodies moved, so they weren't there. And they sent the second one, and there was 2 bodies missing. And they didn't find those other 2 bodies so far, far later on.
Yeah. But the spookiest part about that is that Rasputin predicted it, so that's really the spookiest part about it.
Well, he was a drunk, horny psychopath.
Well, and not to get too
With a
again,
giant
topic. Yeah, but like he did pen a letter that is either full-on proof that he was a mystic or he's just really fucking smart.
I think he read the tea leaves.
Yeah, I think he was a 20 moves ahead type of guy.
Yeah.
I think he was like a cold
he said,
reader.
Like, if I am to die by the hand of the commoners, or poor folk, or anything else, he's like, the Russian family will prosper for years and years and years. But if I'm killed by nobles or rich men, the Russian family will. Russia and the Russian family will fall within 2 years, and I think within like a year and like 9 months.
It was like barely that.
Yeah,
that was mostly because like the war was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
He saw what the problems were. He saw the rising in like the socialist and communist movements.
Yeah,
and Nicholas was a fucktard.
He was. Lou, you put it. I couldn't put it better. Yeah, like
I say that
like
as like
20
kind of
ahead.
like a kind of historian, technically. Nicholas was a like sheltered.
Well, like the family itself, it's like, oh yes, strange man from Siberia, you can come live with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's because he was wearing a really tight pair of robes that day. And they saw.
He's the only person
he was washing a carriage with his
giant dog. But the craziest thing is like he basically got in there because he's the only person who was like, yeah, don't give your was it not anemic? What was he that you bleed a lot?
I think anemic.
Yeah, it's anemic.
Yeah.
No, not anemic, where you like cut yourself and you like will bleed to death.
That's anemic. I'm pretty sure.
No, it's
it's another phrase.
It's where your blood doesn't clot. Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on. Fuck.
That's what the heir to the throne was, and he's like, don't give that kid aspirin. That makes you like your blood thin.
Yeah,
that is why he got
hemophilia. That's
hemophilia.
Okay.
Yes.
Hemophilia. Yeah.
The son, the heir to the throne, was a hemophiliac.
Like, yeah, it's anemia. Yeah.
I mean, I think they all had that to some degree. Yeah, the son had it bad.
It's called like inbreeding.
Yeah, that's basically that's what happens.
And the mother was she Spanish? But they were all still related to each other.
It doesn't matter. They were all like
They're all like
Queen
second
Victoria's
cousins.
great grandson. Yeah, like
Yeah.
they're like third cousins to the current Queen and King of England.
Yeah, well,
so,
because
yeah,
they all intermarried with each other because you can only marry with your level. So
And
the
for clarity,
Russians, the Germans,
hemophilia or blood doesn't clot. Anemia is when you lack enough healthy red blood cells to carry enough oxygen for your body.
okay.
I think anemia has to do with an iron deficiency.
Yeah.
So if you're super pale,
royals would get both. So confusing the two is not complete.
yes,
Yeah.
Or
So
syphilis if you're in England.
well,
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Thanks,
Arlen,
City.
do you? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Arlen, would you like to go next, or would you like me to go next?
I can go next because I feel like yours, just based off what you said, it's going to be the most different. So
Yes.
yeah. So mine is the disappearance of Tara Calico.
Never heard of this.
Yeah, she went missing in 1998. She was going for a bike ride, her daily bike ride, in Valencia County, New Mexico. And her route is along New Mexico. She was
Say that's
in
a
New York.
really long ride.
New Mexico State Road 47. It was the same day her mother, Patty, knew it well. Blah, blah. I'm reading off a thing, so if this sounds, and they often traveled it together. But Patty had been skipping rides.
Wait, you say Tara Calico?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just say, based on these names,
fuck,
these are very, very white people?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Very white. She's extremely white.
This is going to factor into my theories.
Okay. Yeah.
I know who this is.
Oh wow. So yeah. Apparently there had been a recent accident, which caused her mother to not want to ride anymore. So yeah, Tara continued to just ride on her own, and then at some point she just didn't come back. Around noon, it was noticed that Tara was missing. So yeah, and she went missing for months and months and months. And people looked. They drove all up and down the road to see if she had gotten hit by a car. And nobody could find anything. Police found pieces of her Walkman and a cassette tape, which her mother thought that it was sort of a breadcrumbs type thing, which is pretty smart. And yeah, and it sort of went cold for a while. People didn't know what had happened until years later, or about a year later, in Florida, there was a Polaroid found.
I'm gonna post it in the group.
I know exactly what this is.
Yep.
And it's a picture of a teenage girl and a young boy lying.
And I know who this
on
is.
sheets
Not
and a
because
pillow.
of her, because of the boy.
Oh.
I know who this is because of her.
I think some point later on, a mother said that, because I think the kid, whoever that kid, the boy is, someone said that looks like my son.
Oh.
Whose kid was also missing.
Yeah.
Continue, Arlen.
Yeah. But yeah. And really nobody knows what happened from here. Witnesses said that there was a white Toyota van. Oh yeah, no, the woman who found the picture called the police, telling them that a white Toyota van had been parked in the spot where she found the Polaroid, and a mustachioed man in his 30s was the driver. So it's not you, Eric, sadly. We can't.
I have a beard. I don't just have a mustache.
We can't blame it on you. I mean, your styles might have changed, but also you weren't 30 in 19.
You're the only one old enough to have actually done anything, because I think, Arlen, you weren't born, and me and Connor were like 1.
I would have been 20.
Right.
I'm the oldest man on earth.
So unless you had very complex makeup, you could not have done this. So that's good.
I'm just a basic bitch.
God damn.
Wait, I think you're getting your math wrong. This is like in the 1990.
Yeah.
1998.
I mean, Eric, no, 89 to 90.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. When you said 98, yeah.
No. It's like 89, 90.
Oh no. I
You're
would
like
have only been. I would have been 11.
Yeah.
Still.
So definitely was not you. So yeah, let's see what
Oh,
else
what's
was there. The girl in the picture had a discolored streak on her thigh and a scar just like the one Tara had gotten in a car accident when she was younger. And there was a dog-eared paperback next to her. V.C. Andrews was one of Tara's favorite authors. So yeah, there's a lot of little things that have made it pretty clear that that's her. But after this, as far as I could tell, nobody knows what happened to her.
And
where
I'm
she
going to
went.
tie this back to what I said. So it's actually
Yeah.
in the wiki article. The photo was shown on an episode of Current Affair.
Mhm.
And Dole, who was it? There was I'm looking for their names.
Henley?
Michael Henley is a boy who disappeared, and his parents were like, saw the photo and were like, "That's our kid." And basically these two stories like kind of developed at the same time. Because it says in the same paragraph that like Tara's mom was convinced it was her. Henley also said, Michael Henley's mother said she was almost certain it was Michael in the same photo. The identification of the boy in the photo, as Henley is considered unlikely. His remains were discovered in June 1990 in the Zuni Mountains, about 7 miles from his family's campsite, which he had disappeared from, and 75 miles from where Calico disappeared. Police believe that Henry wandered off and subsequently died of exposure. But that's a theory.
Yeah,
Right.
and there are other photos there, or the wiki says.
Yes.
That like can tie into it.
In
The
2009, 20 years after the Polaroid photo was found and shared by the media, pictures of a boy were sent to Port Joe.
It's the same place where the picture was
Joe.
found.
Yes. 2 letters postmarked June 10th and August 10th, 2009 from Albuquerque, New Mexico. One letter contained a photo printed on copy paper of a young boy with a sandy brown hair. Someone had drawn a black band of ink on the photo over the boy's mouth, just like the old photo. The second letter contained an original image of the boy. On August 12th, the Star newspaper of Port St. Joe received a third letter and postmarked in Albuquerque on August 10th, depicting the same image of a boy with black marker over his mouth. Boy has not been confirmed the same as the one in the previous photo. None of the letters contain return address or a note indicating the child's identity, making the officials later believe it may have been something to do with the disappearance of Tara. That's a long blur, so I don't read the whole thing, but yeah, there was a couple more developments in the case. And it's weird that because I didn't know the story based on Tara, I knew it based on Michael.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I I definitely heard a podcast talk about this at some point. Because basically they almost confirmed that this is Tara in this image, right?
Yeah,
they're like 99% sure it's her.
Yeah, and it's fairly close. Yeah. When you look at it, it's pretty hard. I mean, Tara she's not I don't want to put her down. She's not like exceptional beauty or anything like that. Like she's not a 1 in a million person. There are a lot of people that could could be.
Well, she looks like an 80s, like a late 80s, early 90s teenager. Right. She's got the bangs and everything. And this picture, the way it's situated, you can't really tell like physical proportions as well.
Also, and the Polaroid photo quality is garbage.
Yes.
Also, don't forget, dead girls don't have feelings.
Yes. This is. Here's the thing, because we don't know what happened. We don't know if she's dead or not. We haven't found a body. Sadly, this might be one of those sex slave situations.
That's what I was going to say. The most likely answer is sex trafficking.
I was going to bring up the documentary I'd mentioned to you guys a couple times in past ADs was Whatever Happened to Johnny Gosh, or The Taking of Johnny Gosh, something along those lines. And it delves into a lot of that stuff. And I believe that's where I had last seen this picture pop up, is that they bring this up as a potential connection to it. But
I've seen this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, but yeah, I could see that being the most, for lack of better choice, logical answer on what's going on here.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I would say this is more like that German guy who had those girls in his basement.
Fritzl?
Yeah, that's more the direction I'm going with this because,
or like the guy in Cleveland,
right? Because
they
usually
have
in those
money.
sex trafficking situations, they try to go for younger girls, unless it's girls who are already into prostitution.
The thing is, though, she is a
yeah.
younger girl,
Right?
ish. That what changes everything is that there's the boy in there.
Yeah, the
So a
boy is
single-
odd.
So the single person doing it doesn't makes the boy not make sense. Because if it was a single person doing it for like a sex slave thing, the boy doesn't make sense.
Here's
Is
my
it
answer.
sex trafficking or it's a lone pedophile?
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
most
see,
pedophiles don't cross gender gaps.
yeah, that's true. Most of them they have a type. So my answer.
And this
for
is
the
different ages,
boy-
different genders.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They really don't. It's even even more so than say serial killers. Serial killers can cross a line as long as it's sort of a natural
play.
evolution of what they're doing.
They'll like try something a little younger or try something a little older and see if
Right.
it plays. But like crossing like sex or gender lines is huge. And this is
Yes.
sex, like this is gender and age. Because she's like 5 or 6 years older than that kid.
Yeah.
She's
Easily.
a preteen, because I can't remember there's different terminology, but like
Yeah.
because there's like toddler and below, then like kind of prepubescent. Like,
Well, she's 19. Okay. So that's
Yeah, she was born in 1969.
right.
Okay. So she's a young woman, and that's a kid. That's
Mhm.
like a 10-year-old kid.
So what it makes me think is that the kid was a witness. That's my answer to the kid and why he's there. Assuming that the larger sex trafficking ring isn't in play. If it is, then he's just another
victim. Yeah.
It could be the other way around, though. That she
yeah,
could
it
have
could
been
be
the
the other way.
witness.
Mhm.
My
a
thing
little
with
kid
the
being
witness, my thing with the witness thing though is the fact that she was laying clues and the whole bike thing.
For the book is the big thing, because if she was just a witness, why would she even have a book? The book is more of a somebody got that for her.
Yeah.
As like a
To placate her.
To placate her.
Right. Because they needed to keep her happy. Whereas the boy is just there.
But the thing is, there's blankets and there's pillows. They're comfortable.
Sure.
Like in quotes, I feel like in a normal sex trafficking, they would just be like in the back of a van. Like they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's almost like a more
yeah
caring kind of thing, because there's like a bag in the background.
Now, I've also heard this photo was left intentionally as a theory.
That could be.
Well,
like
if it's I don't know if it was left intentionally so much as like it might have been not a prize, what's it called, a trophy.
A trophy. Yeah.
Yes, a trophy makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's sort of like in case this guy does end up, because this might be somebody who's not sure if he's gonna keep this girl or if he's gonna kill her.
It could also be that somebody wants like a pseudo wife and a son.
That's a place that my head went to also.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Because if she's 19 and that's like a son, and again, I go to the blankets and the pillows, like they're quote unquote comfortable.
I'm gonna go steal myself a family. Ugh.
Yeah, because I think like in a normal sex trafficking, why would they have pillows and stuff like that?
Well, what is that? Okay, what's that VC Andrews book about? Because now
I'm reading a little bit about it. It's kind of all over the place. The story features diverse real-world subjects such as brittle bone disease, rape, post-traumatic stress disorder, diabetes.
What the fuck?
In the haunting setting of a Victorian-era mansion near the fictitious River Lyle.
Oh, okay. So this is okay. So 9 years
book.
before 9 years before Audrina was born, her elder sister, also named Audrina, was born on September 9th. She was raped and murdered in the woods on her 9th birthday. Damien tells her the story about his first and best Audrina and convinces the younger Audrina that the process of self-hypnosis, which includes going into the first Audrina's old bedroom and rocking her rocking chair.
This was one of the first cases that My Favorite Murder did.
Yeah.
That's where I remember it, because I remember hearing them talk about My Sweet Audrina. because it is a fucked up book.
This is not I don't care what kind of person you are. And I know VC Andrews fans, they are their own kind of bizarre, so I get that. But I don't know. This is not the comfort book. This feels like it's part of whatever's going on here. Whoever
for my enjoyment.
Yeah. More like he wants her to be like Audrina. He wants her to be his real life Audrina.
Yes.
He may be obsessed with this book.
Can I say one thing though? So there is in the wiki, which I remember at some point, either another podcast or that podcast talking about, that this picture may not be her, and that in the town in Valencia, that some investigations in 2008 said that they think that other teenage boys that were drinking and driving may have hit her, and then and then she eventually died, and they hit her body. And they know the names of these people, but there's no evidence to tie them to it.
Interesting.
Which seems like a huge misstep on the police force's part, even bringing this up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this picture may be someone completely different.
If you have no connections, just keep that shit to yourself, because, like, especially the mother of this girl finds out. She did find out, I'm assuming. Especially if the information's out there, she's going to demand justice. You're just going to be like, well, our hands are tied.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it says in 2013, like, they're still investigating.
Yeah.
And it's never been closed. Because, like, one of the big things is, like, she's 19. The girl in the picture looks very immature for, like, a 19-year-old. There's obviously, like, there could be ways that could be it, but she looks quite younger.
It's hard to tell though, because I mean, you have a forced perspective from a Polaroid.
Yeah,
like you're not.
Which is
you're
weird.
not getting...
The Polaroid does give a bunch of evidence, because that's how you know when this was taken.
Yeah, but outside of that, that's it. Like you can't.
Mm-hmm. That's a fucking white van, which is probably the same van that was in the parking lot. Yeah,
most likely the ones that have the little windows that little kids can't reach up to.
Yeah, the pedo vans.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing with My Sweet Audrina, like that's the mother claims that was her favorite book.
Okay.
It wasn't.
It's a weird ass favorite book for a teenager to have.
Teenage girls in the 80s were odd.
Yeah.
I mean, Flowers or not? Yeah, was it Flowers in the Attic? Was the other VC?
Yeah, Flowers in the Attic is the incest one.
Yeah.
Even the plot of Flowers in the Attic, that's far more reasonable to me than this.
Well, because they get forced in there by their creepy mother.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's sort of they fall in love as a result of the situation.
I do have to say, Arlen, yours is the most depressing of the group.
Yeah.
So two theories are: one, it's VC Andrews who took them.
Right.
And she just never is VC Andrews a man or a woman? I don't know. I'm hoping it's a woman. I'm hoping it's a woman, because if it's a guy writing it, that's real creepy. The other thing is that the parents were feeding these children mummy juice, and they needed to get them off their property because the power of the pharaohs were starting to flow through their bodies.
I mean,
the thing is, to me, the likelihood that
Anubis's dog-faced curse upon
you. The likelihood of somebody taking her from New Mexico to Florida is so unlikely that it lends me to think that this is not her in the picture.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think that. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Because
that's like it's across the entire country, basically.
Yeah,
and it's not like if you were going to traffic, you wouldn't be trafficking from basically the southwest to the southern east coast.
I mean, if you want to really
California,
if you really want to stretch it. This is a trucker who works cross country, who constantly makes the route from Florida to New Mexico. Makes it enough to notice her.
We have a killer currently right now who's in jail. That's exactly what he was.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name offhand right now.
The other thing.
Wait, what was the guy? Who was the guy who took There was a trucker killer who is known for photographing one of his victims right before he killed her.
I remember reading about this. I can't remember.
There's
it's the girl who looks.
The photos are fucking terrifying.
Yeah, she looked super bummed at arrest station.
Yeah, there's a guy right now.
But it's also like, but then he has photos of her in like some like awful wooden structure, and she is basically like midstream tears, and at some point she has her hands out in self-defense.
There's a guy who's like, they've confirmed like 30 murders, and he's confessed to like 90.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name, and he was a truck driver across the entire U.S. until like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I thought I'd seen some pictures. Was he an older black gentleman, or is that am I
Yes.
getting something?
No, that's who I'm thinking of. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. But back to the whole thing with her going from New Mexico to Florida. The other thing that you gentlemen aren't keeping in mind is maybe that puss was so sweet that they were willing to transfer her all the way from New Mexico to Florida on a cross country tour.
I'll only allow it because she was 19.
You know.
Sure. Well, so here's the thing. The reason I say truck, part of this is if we assume that she was actually the target, right? And that she's not a bystander, as we keep saying. It means that the person who abducted her knew that she rode on that road every day. So you need to be there and back consistently enough to know that and to be able to plan on it to some degree. Which is why I say trucker. If you, depending on your truck route, you can be fairly consistent.
If you're driving cross country, you're not driving in the same area enough to know that.
Yeah.
It's either a crime of opportunity or it's somebody local.
Well, the other thing, yeah, that's true. Because that's the other thing I was going to bring up is that you were saying earlier that her mom wasn't riding with her because of an accident. So someone had been paying attention to her for a bit and noticed that, oh, she's by herself. Cool. Doing this.
Wait, hold on. When was this? Okay, so the photo was found in Florida, right?
Yes.
How long after Tara's disappearance?
I think like a year, 6 months or a year.
Then
that's the thing. We're
not talking about someone who took a girl to Florida. We're talking about someone who probably kidnapped a girl, killed her in New Mexico, and then left the state.
Yeah, that could be. Or he lives somewhere else and he was just in Florida.
Yeah.
That could be also.
Yeah.
Like this could be somebody who goes back and forth from New Mexico to Texas. And
the thing is,
in between, he's taking off people's nipples, of course, as a side shot.
But this photo is obviously of the inside of a white van, and the woman said it was like a white van. I think it's more likely, again, to play like, I don't know, like not devil's advocate, but like that these are two separate cases. And it's more likely that this white van is a separate case, and it's people wanting to see what they want to see.
I mean, it could be, but this could also, I mean, here's the thing. If we don't assume that it is a sex slave situation and that this is a serial killer, it could be a serial killer who's like, don't stay in the same state, move state to state, and never have a consistent MO as a way of getting out of it, which we're seeing more and more often.
The thing is,
killers who aren't getting caught are the ones that are doing that. And this could have been a guy who's very ahead of his time.
But the thing is, the big kink in that is that the boy.
I think the boy was a witness. One of them, I think, was a witness, regardless of anything else.
But
I think that's unimpeachable. One of them was a witness who was there at the wrong moment.
But if you go with the trucker theory, then why is there a white van?
It doesn't necessarily need to be a trucker. Again, if it's just a serial killer who's in the area at that time, and again, he's always moving in that white van. And he's living in hotels.
Contractor with a white van, no one's going to question you.
Yeah.
I guess my personal feeling on this is that the picture isn't her. These are two separate cases. She probably died by somebody locally. And this picture is of another, I don't even know if it's trafficking, but it's definitely something fucked up. And that the mom and people just connected the book to each other because it's a weird fucked up book.
Here's the thing, without the book at all, I would actually be completely on board with that. But the book, I don't know. There's too much synchronicity in it. There's just too many things that have to come together for these two cases not to be connected. I would need to see Tara's body and then have another girl live in an interview say, no, I was the girl in that photo, for me to really think.
Here's my thing: we cannot actually see either person's feet or hands. We just see that their
Yeah.
mouths are taped.
Mhm.
This could very well be like a staged photo, and no one wants to admit to it because of how much it blew up.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know
I fucked
when
around
my
and
parents.
put tape
Yeah.
on my mouth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can remember being on road trips with my parents and doing stupid shit like that from the back of the car. Like,
And again, like it's the blankets and the pillows, and they're dressed well. They look like they're fed well. Like they don't look like they're starving. They don't look emaciated.
Sure.
Well, you don't want a starving sex slave though.
But then they're weak. But if they are, then they're weaker, and it's
This
tighter.
is true. Also, here's the thing: the boy did disappear in New Mexico. That's the other.
Well,
That's the other aspect.
if it's the same boy, which they basically have said, it's not.
Well, again, so here's the thing: if we really go out, then maybe neither of them is actually a witness, and this is a person whose thing is, I capture a girl who's sort of teens to early 20s, and I capture a young boy, and there is that sort of family thing that we said where they're pretending to have a family. He brings them out to like a pizza place or whatever, and he makes them go along with it, and then the moment that they try to escape or they try to resist him,
or he gets bored.
Well, that's when they're done.
One of them breaks, even if it's just one of them breaks the illusion.
Right, or just breaks his own rules. Serial killers come up with rules for how you're supposed to act. And if you,
like, if you want to go darkest universe, that's what it is. I guess. I feel like
a sick role play that someone ended.
Yeah.
All right.
Lots of possibilities, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's one that's
yours has too many unanswered questions, whereas like ours are like possible government spookiness, which is so indifferent. It's like whatever. It's like it's never gonna fucking affect us.
Yeah, or it was his ex-wife. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, that's just fucking human evil.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe
it
mine
felt very
will.
Lisa Lamb to me. So
Yeah. Maybe mine will make this not as dark. So I'm gonna bury the lead for most of it. So I will not say names. So in 1973, a 32-year-old man who's very fit, in May, he has a fairly rigorous job, but sometimes it's not as hard, has an issue where he has a very bad headache. He ends up going to the hospital. They find that he has edema. They give him some prescription pills, and for the next 2 months, he's fine. He's kind of traveling all over the world. He is with a friend, in big quotes, later to revealed to be a mistress, who says that he has a headache, who gives him some pills.
I know exactly what this is.
I have no idea.
He goes and lays down. After several hours, when he doesn't come down for dinner, goes and checks on him. He's unresponsive, calls his boss, and who comes over and cannot rouse him. And so then they call an ambulance and stuff, and they bring him to the hospital. The pill that she gave him was a mixture of Advil and... Sorry, I'm looking up the exact thing.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
This is Bruce Lee.
Meprobamate, which is basically like a Valium.
Yeah.
And he's dead. He dies before the ambulance even gets there. And yes, you're correct, Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah. The minute you said like he had a headache and his mistress gave him a pill for it, I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly who this is. But yeah, this one is weird.
There's like, so as somebody who's like, so my mom, grandma, aunt, they're all like born in Korea, came here. I've heard about this. Again, that's Korean. He was Chinese. I've heard about this since basically I was born, since he died before I was born. There are so many question marks in this. So
now let's get this out of the way first. Do we agree Bruce's death, spooky, Brandon's death, accident?
Yes.
Okay.
That's me.
I would say reality, yes. Within certain stories, meh. It's weird that both of them died. and that
Yes.
the Bruce
Yeah.
that the Lee like name is gone.
Yeah.
Like that this family line, quote unquote, because only his daughter is left alive, is ended.
Yeah. And I mean, it is right before the drop of what would be their biggest movies.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, basically, because I'll get to Brandon Lee, but like in an accident that's so weird,
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot to happen.
Weird because it's very preventable and highly ill-advised.
Yes. And what was he basically had a non-career and was a breakout role that would have put him on the map.
It does feel very Devil at the Crossroads ish.
Like would that movie have been as big but without his death? We can never really know.
Yeah.
For all
It's
intents
like
and
the Heath
purposes,
Ledger question. It's like, would the movie have gotten as much? But after we've all yes, it would have. The movie's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do think the Crow is not
boost.
The Crow's not the same level, but I do think it is it is a good enough movie to springboard the son of Bruce Lee into superstardom.
I mean, it's a good enough movie to take down a 90-minute review of it. So,
Lou, back with Bruce Lee.
Yes.
Was there ever any explanation of what chemically happened to him?
Official cause of
allergic reaction is what I always heard.
The official cause of death is death by misadventure.
That could be a multitude of things.
So to go through everything, right? So, in May 10th, during an ADR session for Enter the Dragon, his biggest movie, he was rushed to the hospital where he had headaches and had seizures. They saw that it was symptoms of a cerebral edema. They gave him there's that means excess fluid in the brain. They treated him, and after a brief stay, he was way better. And he told friends that this is not how Bruce Lee was going to die. So he was released. He continued his usual fitness regime, which is like crazy. His diet, which was vegetables, rice, fish, and milk. He didn't eat any baked goods, refined flour, or refined sugar. So he was kind of like keto before keto.
Right.
So July 20th, that'd be 2 months later, while he is recovering from this edema, but he's still kind of working, he gave no friends any worry of like any issues. The last day of his life was a busy one. He was in Hong Kong. He was set to continue filming. I believe it's
Game of Death.
Yes, that's the one with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
Game of Death. So he met with Raymond Chow, who will be a big figure in this. So Raymond Chow was a major like Chinese film producer with connections, quote unquote, to the Chinese mafia and the Chinese government, discussing his upcoming movies and his movie deals. He said that he was filled with enthusiasm. He was acting out scenes, and he was energetic despite the crazy heat during the summer. After this, he went to the apartment of a friend, quote unquote, which was one of his probably many mistresses, a Taiwanese actress, Betty Tang Pei. They were alone for several hours. They had dinner plans to talk to Lee's producer to talk about a movie deal, which was specifically an American movie deal. We'll tie in later. At 7:30, shortly before they were set to depart, Lee said he had a headache. According to Ting Pei, she gave him Equagesic, which is the painkiller with aspirin, and a tranquilizer, which is kind of like Valium. And he went to lie down. After several hours, and he didn't come down for dinner, she went to check on him, and he was unresponsive, like I said. She called Chow back, unresponsive, called doctors, and he was dead before the ambulance got to the hospital. Yeah. So there's a lot of things here. So
all right. So
yes, the official story is basically kind of similar to Heath Ledger. Mixing prescriptions is basically what caused his death, along with him having this edema thing. Again, he was 32 years old.
And
possibly the greatest health of anyone on Earth.
I fucking outlived him. That's upsetting.
Yeah, I'm 41 and looking at my body, I wish I was dead. Like the thing is, and I'm not saying this in any type of shitty, like, I'm not trying to sound terribly racist or any shit like that, but it's a known fact that things a lot of times from China can be somewhat questionable in nature. Like,
yes. Well, that ties into one of the conspiracy theories.
And again, not to sound racist, but like the term Chinese knockoff exists.
Yes.
Right.
It's literally what we are having a trade war right now.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's not like you're trying to instill any kind of racial, like, race. You're saying like there is a country that produces knockoffs of lots of global products, and they're not very good.
Yeah, and that's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. What I was just gonna say is, like, as a kind of a little bit of background, as like I'm sure we've all heard theories before. The kind of thing is, I can't remember the name right now. What is the star of Bullet?
Steve McQueen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Steve McQueen.
So Steve McQueen and Bruce Lee were very close friends. They were very influential in each other's lives. Basically, Bruce Lee saying that, like, you're kind of a badass, like, why are you doing all this, like, dumb shit, like, do real movies? And then Steve McQueen telling him, why are you in these, like, garbage Chinese movies? You could be the biggest movie star in the world. Which kind of leads into one of the parts of the conspiracy theories. So basically, after Enter the Dragon, or what was the movie? I get Touch of Death. Game of Death. That was the last movie that he was signed on to do with Chow's company, which was a Chinese company. After that, like Green Hornet, the idea was he was going to move into American movies because he was now an international superstar.
Well, yeah, he was so well known. Like here's my thing. Has any person that is not a politician has had as much global influence as Bruce Lee? Like, I guess a politician or a religious figure.
Like outside of philosophers and writers?
Yeah, like besides a politician or like a religious-esque figure.
Well, like Bruce Lee is known for, like, here's the thing. He is like one of the biggest movie stars of all time, despite the fact that, like, his filmography is not
6 movies.
Yeah, it's not that long.
Yeah.
And like a lot of it lives and dies on people seeing Enter the Dragon once.
Yeah. He's in like every UFC game, he's in that. He's in his t-shirts and all that stuff. His image
is immortalized in Mortal Kombat because Liu Kang is just fucking
Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there really is anyone who was like more idolized in America in some ways than
that's what I was saying. Like,
than a lot of American actors were.
He kind of gave like Asian, like East Asian people an identity, like in America specifically, as like a way to not be like this kind of, in previous films and television, this kind of side character or cartoonish figure. He was the baddest and like the baddest man in the world. Like, no one could fuck with Bruce Lee.
Well, and that because he also had the receipts to prove it. When you would see videos, like tape of him, like or not even in tournaments, but just like showing off some of the martial arts that he essentially created.
Yes, technically, he never fought in a competitive like martial arts tournament, like MMA style. Although he's most often considered to be the kind of grandfather of the concept of MMA, because that was his whole mentality.
Yep.
And
take what you need from what you can use.
Yes, exactly. And which again will tie into some of the conspiracy theories and so many people's like careers. Like Jackie Chan was in a Bruce Lee movie. Chuck Norris was a villain in a Bruce Lee movie.
And Chuck Norris was one of his first American students, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Chuck kind of turned and created his own thing based off of Bruce Lee, the Chuck Kondo. I know. But so one of the big, I guess, like the kind of the number one, so there's obviously how they say he died. So the number one conspiracy theory basically is that Chow, along with the triads or Chinese mafia, basically did not like that Bruce Lee was leaving China and all of the money that he generated to go to America with his white wife and half children to go become American, which has a lot to do with this, to become an American movie star. And they attempted to kill him once. It did not work. And then the second time it did.
I didn't think about the first attempt.
By paying off his mistress.
Well, that was what I was going to get back to earlier when I was trying to tiptoe around a thing that basically we all know is the idea of Chinese knockoffs. Like, could it be something as simple as the pill that she gave him? Not that it was poison, but that it was just a bad batch of whatever garbage pill she was using, and it just reacted.
The thing is, though, as a man known for his fitness, his regimen, caring about everything that went into his body, there was never really anything about him really doing drugs.
No.
Until the first incident where he had to medically take stuff.
Right.
And again,
I mean, you know what case this reminds me the most of? The Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain case, in which Kurt, who was not suicidal up until Courtney claimed he was after their trip to Rome, killed himself a month later. So
after ODing on heroin, something he had maintained a steady use of for years. Yeah.
And again, if you look at the timeline, goes to meet the producer, then his mistress. He's there for hours. Mistress doesn't call an ambulance. She calls the producer, who then calls an ambulance. So basically the first.
I propose an alternating theory about the producer and the mistress's roles.
Okay, there's like 6 theories.
I think I have one of my own. I'm not sure.
Okay.
There's a lot of theories. Like the one MK Ultra, she was a agent for the CIA, and
not one of my theories.
And Bruce was. Here's the thing: Bruce was saying some pretty controversial things.
He was very controversial and outspoken, specifically. And again, it goes to the American influence and his white wife. White, blonde-haired wife.
What if there's no malicious intent here, but everything you said about him leaving to go be an American film star holds water? Mistress gives him a pill. He's unresponsive, and this woman, understanding that she may have just murdered the next big thing, doesn't call an ambulance and calls a producer. Producer gets there.
To add to it, she wasn't
fucked. Like
she wasn't like a hook or anything. She was also an actress.
Yeah, and again, like, I'm not saying like not really saying what her role is in that as far as professionally goes, but like there was no intent to murder him. But in the moment, this guy's not responding, and she's thinking, "Oh my God, I gave him the substance." Like, I don't want to be the one seen calling an ambulance. I'm going to call someone who knows him to come over here and see if you can make sense out of the situation. Producer gets there and is like, just fucking murdered the next big superstar. Then
you murdered. I don't even how would you even describe him besides just him? Like, he's not.
You just murdered Bruce Lee.
He's like a cross-cultural,
international, cross-cultural.
Yeah, you murdered
multi-platform
2 countries.
Right. Yes. Yeah, you murdered the first viral star. That's what
exactly
you did. Like,
because it wasn't even it's not just like the East Asian communities. Like, Bruce Lee was huge in other it was like not even like specifically Asia. It was just like all minority communities adopted Bruce Lee.
And he had an open casket funeral that was attended by hundreds. Like, it was on TV.
Yes, it was like the event. Like, he was a pope of just like. But in many ways, he was there's still
he was treated like that.
I opened the show, people remember all of his sayings. Like, what was water can do any, water. Like, everyone knows that. I fear not the man
who's practiced 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick, one theory that I just thought of is, with the idea of questionable origin for some of the Chinese products, what if the pill he was given was actually filled with mummy juice? And the mummy juice...
We should have seen it coming, and we didn't. I just stopped him.
The curse of Ra.
I thought it was going to
Considering who
be
we're
The
talking
sun
about.
god was angry at
All right.
Bruce Lee.
All right, so let me get through some of the other conspiracy theories. The next one I think is the dumbest one, also the funniest one, is that he was killed by a martial arts cabal for revealing to Westerners the secret moves.
I love this one. I love this one.
The secret
He was
moves
killed
and
for
like
revealing
styles.
ancient techniques.
Yes.
But that was the thing. Like, I was always under the impression that, like, it's not that Bruce Lee was like teaching people the secrets of like Wing Chun or anything like that. Like,
Right.
he was using the things he learned and like, I can do this a better way.
Uh-huh.
And
The biggest
was a
thing to martial arts was that he was more like, oh, this style, like there is no one style. Like
Yeah.
this style isn't
Right.
better than that style. This style has the best punch. This style has the best low kick. This style has the best high kick. And that shattered kind of in many ways the kind of origins of martial arts at the time.
He also like the thing is like, and here's the only water this theory has is like, if you go around the world and tell a bunch of like, now like the people that Joe Rogan exposes all the time, and like these idiots that have just been like caught up in this.
Oh, the
tornado
kung
of,
fu
like,
masters.
Yeah,
Right.
Like the only people to be affected by this are people who stand to make money by conning people, because
Sure.
I guess
Yeah,
at
the
that
chi.
point, like
The masters of chi.
Exactly.
God.
Like those are the only people
Yeah,
I see
'cause-
getting upset, but I also see those people getting so upset they murdered the guy.
Yes, this is why I said
Yeah.
it's the funniest and like most bullshitty one.
Well, because he wasn't teaching them how to become the Iron Fist. That's
yeah,
the
the
other
only
thing.
thing,
It's
he
like-
was doing was like taking money from like fucking con artists, low rent karate masters who have a,
Yeah.
who have a dojo
Well, that's right.
wedged next to a Chinese restaurant. It's also next to a pet store. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why I think the best theory is that he was leaving and pissed off Chow and the Chinese mafia.
yeah. No, I mean,
Right.
yeah.
So theory number 3, kind of the flip side of that, of the Chinese mafia, is that he was actually killed by the Italian mafia for not going along with their ideas for his future Hollywood career.
Interesting.
Huh.
I've never
seems
heard
extreme
this
too,
one.
though.
But if you think of like the Italian mob was very much at the time.
Yeah.
If you think about like the what you see in like Godfather's a movie obviously, but like they're very influential in like the studio system and all that. Again,
Well,
They
this
had
is
a
not
lot of influence. I mean, the head of
Well, and
Universal
the
was
thing is too,
associated with them.
the thing is too,
Yeah.
like film and mafia influence each other because they didn't dress or act that way until those movies started coming out, and they were like, "This is how people
Yeah.
see us, and this is how we should be perceived."
Mhm.
So, but I don't know. That one just like, hey, do this
Hey.
thing. Be this kind of entertainer. Oh, you don't want to? We're gonna kill you. That sounds insane to me. But again, I'm not. I'm not in the
Okay.
mob, so I don't know.
So
Yeah.
theory 4, I think, is another crazy one that I've never heard of before until I was looking it up. So that his mistress is not the one who gave him the pill, that he was actually seeing a prostitute who gave him an aphrodisiac, which caused him to become like lose control and become violent.
I don't believe that at
And
all.
she killed him in self-defense, and they covered it all up.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
doesn't. I don't know. And who knows what people present and what people are like behind the scenes are two very different things. But
But the whole information about what he puts into his body comes from multiple sources.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As far
Yes.
as I knew anyway. Like I think everyone talks about it and says like, oh no, he was very strict about what goes in and what comes. Like he was
Exactly.
his body was a machine to him. He treated it like one, so he took care of it.
Yeah.
That and a prostitute just like having a mistress is one thing, but like, and I don't fucking know the guy. He was born and died before I was born. But like a prostitute seems out of character even for this enigmatic man that we all barely knew.
Yes, I feel like we see it all the time.
Oh, excuse me.
When it comes to like these people, like, oh, why do they do that? They can just get any woman they want, but they still do it.
Yeah.
Is
Right.
kind of the only thing that kind of leads any credence to that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Why does Eddie Murphy need to go to the trans part of Hollywood to pick
Yeah.
up a
Well-
prostitute or a sex worker?
Well,
I'm sure
just
we'll
or
turn
like
to this.
Hugh Grant, like, because let's be honest, Eddie Murphy's star had been fallen for quite a while. But like
that was kind of like the nail in the coffin.
Right.
But like Hugh Grant was at the top of his power, and he was with, what was her name? Is the actress?
I will give you one up on that. Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
With a Perkins waitress.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just him. It was an adult.
It was Tiger Woods with like 70 people. Yeah. But like one of them was a Perkins waitress near like Augusta.
You know, he felt like mini golfing instead of playing at the Masters.
Yeah. With Tiger Woods, though, with a Perkins waitress, like, I can see someone of that level who was pushed to the moon at, like, what fucking age?
Yeah, he had very much a Michael Jackson background.
18?
Yeah, like he was.
Yeah, I could see him hanging with his friends, and he's like, "I bet I could get her. I bet I could get her." And like,
there's a lot of
at that point in his life, he was like, "Women throw themselves at me all the time who are of this nature and this stature. Like, what if I just, like, for lack of a better term, slummed it? Not to disrespect this woman, but like." As far as the social status goes, he wanted to go for somebody that's well below what his social circle would be.
It's like Perkins is below a Denny's. Like,
well, that and I'm sure his logic could be like, yeah, I can sleep with you, and no one will believe you. No one's going to believe a Perkins waitress like Tiger Woods.
Yeah, it's the Bill Murray equation.
Exactly.
I was going to say that.
Exactly.
All right. So the last conspiracy theory is that the actress was basically ordered to poison him on behalf of a Chinese secret society, and this is where the curses come in.
Okay.
That leads to where they cursed his family name, where that the Bruce Lee line would die.
Okay, here's
and
my
at
problem
this time.
This was in a movie.
Just one.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that goes into the
and
whole.
I'm not sure if the movie predates this theory or not.
Well, this is the whole problem with all of the stuff with Chow and the Chinese. So, Game of Death is not finished filmed. They basically do a bunch of magic tricks to finish the film.
Oh, it's deplorable what they do.
Really
they literally like
it's pretty hilarious.
They scotch tape his face onto other people's bodies.
Yep.
Yeah, like that's actually like the film technique they use.
Yeah,
they
for long shot, like distant shots, they put his like cardboard cutouts of his face. They use actual cardboard cutouts. They use body doubles. I don't know. If
they did some other impressive stuff. Also, they reused old footage.
From other movies and stuff.
Well, the thing is, there's a shit ton of Game of Death footage that he filmed. It's just not that like. It's just that.
It's not plot relevant.
It's not plot relevant. It's him fucking around.
Because it's what he did.
Hey, let's try this and see if it works, and then we can use it later on. It's like glorified B-roll footage, but it's not B-roll footage because like he's in costume and he's doing stuff, but like it's not. We're not filming the movie. We're filming something for the sake of filming it, so we have it as a reference point, or something like that.
It's one other thing outside of that is a lot of the people they use as body doubles for him in this movie went on to try and have their own movie careers by going by Bruce Lee L.I.
Oh, that was
Bruce Lee L.E.
It was Bruce. So they usually refer to them now as Bruce Lee, which they would basically, and again, this was part of Chow's company. Most of these films would kind of would sell them in a way like, the final film from Bruce Lee, but they would just put like Bruce on there and then just like kind of the back of him, like a back of a person on a poster to kind of trick Western audiences.
Yep.
Yeah, like I just Googled Game of Death lost footage, and I've got a 40-minute reel of Game of Death footage with this looks like Bruce Lee to me, but it's called the Pagoda fight. I don't fucking remember this fight. Like
the only real like full like kind of a complete fight scene I can remember really is the Kareem fight, and that's mostly because they probably only had Kareem for like a week.
Yeah. Well,
which is the weirdest goddamn fight ever, which also shows like how goddamn big he is. They have one of the biggest NBA stars in a goddamn kung fu movie fighting against him at the time.
Yeah. Well, and that there was going to be something that would have just blown him through the roof even further.
That's it's the Showtime Lakers. They're the biggest sports team possibly at that time in American history. with one of the biggest players who's from New York playing in LA, who was 7 feet tall and fighting this like 5'2" Chinese man, like it would have exploded.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, they were kind of doing some very WWF style stuff before the WWF.
And not to mention,
I can't believe I'm the one saying that, but I am.
He already had been in an
American.
He'd been in an American TV show that crossed over with the Batman TV show. So he was like in a crossover with one of the biggest shows of the era, while he was on one of the biggest shows of the era.
Right.
And he also had the idea for Kung Fu stolen from it.
So, for example, having Triple H in your boxing movie, playing a wrestler who's very similar to Triple H, and then I believe
Hulk Hogan and Rocky
III. Hulk Hogan, Rocky V. All right, yeah.
Yeah, and then Sly was on. He was on one of the shows after that, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that sort of cross-promotional stuff, which it's common now. Like every Fast movie, The Rock shows up with somebody from the cast, I think.
Yeah, the problem is, like, the funny thing is, like, that shit's still happening in the WWE. Like, if someone's in a fucking, like, Wade Barrett was in a movie with Clive Owen or something like that. And they were like, Wade Barrett, star of Dead Man Down or some shit like that. But, like, the reality was, like, Wade Barrett was in that movie for, like, 8 seconds.
All right, just before we lose
they
it,
brought
Eric,
Clive Owen and other people in and like, hey, Wade Barrett's movie.
You actually said something that ties also into a bunch of the stuff. Can you just repeat that? About the thing that was stolen?
Wait, what now?
You just said that like there was a script stolen.
Oh, who said this?
You did, I thought.
I didn't say anything about
Bruce Lee
stolen.
wrote.
Yes.
Kung Fu.
Yes,
Kung Fu
was stolen from him, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
That he basically that Kung Fu is was written, the kind of concept was written by Bruce Lee, which is what turned into the recent Netflix show that you were talking about. Is supposedly based on those ideas. What is it called, Arlen?
Wu Warriors?
I think no, it's not that one. It's either that one or like Stars did one that's based off of his
Badlands.
Is it Badlands?
I don't know.
I think it's like Stars. Somebody actually went and found the script.
Cinemax did one that's about the first Chinese Americans.
I think it's that one.
And it's them in San Francisco, Chinatown, and it's period, and it's them just fucking people up who are trying to kick them out of America.
Okay, that's what it is. That's the Bruce Lee script that basically was turned into.
Side note, if I remember correctly, in a very fucked up turn of events, Brandon Lee was in a modernization of Kung Fu for a little while.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I might be misremembering.
Really
but anyways.
Which that's a good transition to go into Brandon Lee. So Brandon Lee, son of Bruce Lee. I feel fucking
bad for this dude.
So his
more
career,
so than Bruce, I think, because this is like the universe is cruel to this kid.
Oh, he was in Kung Fu the movie.
He was in Kung Fu the Next Generation also.
Okay.
Yes. So he did. So he basically. So he's. I think he was like a toddler when his dad died. So he basically never knew him. He grew up in America, and basically had to grow up as the lineage of Bruce Lee, and never really became anything. He did like some crime killer where he's a gangster. He's in the Kung Fu movie, Legacy of Rage.
He's in what you would like see at the bottom of a fucking Redbox catalog or like
or Sci-Fi Channel special.
Or like when you
Laser Blast.
Yeah, when you start
Laser Missions.
That's it.
Action adventure catalog, we were like, oh, this is garbage.
Well, he's in that movie with Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah. Up until 1994's The Crow.
Yep.
Which he is the star and is basically an entire film based on a 90s comic. It's all super 90s. And in the weirdest, freakiest of freak accidents.
I still can't believe they fucking did this.
Oh, the comic is more 80s, but
yeah. It's like late 80s, early 90s. Like the comic is very era.
The comic has a long story, but it basically its
it's very
initial
that,
run is very.
It's like,
that's why
it's
it looks
influenced
so.
by that like
It's
gothy,
glam rock influence, isn't
yeah,
it?
that gothy glam
Yeah.
rock. Yes,
Right. Which is why it does look like 10 years removed from the movie.
Yes.
But
Movie
it's
is
still
very
close
90s
enough.
contemporary rock.
Yeah.
And so, if I remember correctly, the accident. So what happens is they have a gun for a scene, and they are supposed to shoot Brandon, who's the crow, with blanks. But some wadding, as well as the fact that the gun is supposed to be in a paper bag, creates basically some shrapnel. And then when
here's what happened. They made their own blanks. And
that's right, they
will
reused.
Tell you, don't fucking make your own blanks.
Because they were trying to save money.
Yes.
And it's also one of the blanks that was used in a scene where you can see the bullets in the revolver was then the blank used in the scene where he was being shot. So they essentially made their own bullet.
Yeah.
Yes. Although the scene, like, contrary to conspiracy, like to people think, the scene where he's actually shot has never been shown.
Nope,
Even
never
though
has.
And a lot of people think it's a scene where he drops him from the ceiling on the table of criminals and they have a long gunfight. That's not what it is.
And there was
shot by the character Fun Boy when he enters the apartment when Shelly's being attacked, and the reason you don't see his face is because it's a body double. He gets shot and slumped over.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
the
not
actor
only
who played Fun Boy had a fucking mental breakdown after this, and I think
because he killed someone.
He committed suicide.
No, he died of cancer.
Okay,
but I know he had a nervous breakdown.
Never the same again after.
Yes. Because he killed someone. Like, it's not his fault, but that's what happened.
Yeah, but the gun was in his hand.
Yes. He pulled the trigger, even though it was not supposed to do anything.
And I think the story goes like they shot they were doing the scene. They fired the gun, and Brand just hit the fucking floor, and no one knew what to do because they thought he was acting.
Yeah, because
so, I think they're like, all right, Brandon, we're good, and like, no, he's just sitting there fucking bleeding out on the floor. And I think what happened was the shrapnel, when it hit. Fragments of it
pierced him, like it shredded his heart, I believe.
It went into his body, and some of it lodged into his spine.
Yeah, it was through his stomach, if I remember correctly, from what I'd read. But regardless,
he had no chance. He was straight up like Deadsville in the worst possible way, which then takes the whole Bruce's death as a conspiracy theory, as well as the like mysticism and secret societies to like a whole nother level. Because now his son dies in the freakiest of freak accidents while on a movie that was supposed to be his breakout movie, and he is the last of his name.
The thing is, though, like breakout movie, I agree with, but like he wasn't about to be in something that was going to knock the fucking theater over.
No. Yeah, but it goes to the whole thing that we talked about. It's like we will never really know what the Crow could have been if he didn't die. Sure. I think at best it's like a RoboCop.
See, that's the thing I'm trying to remember. Like, I can't remember if the hype for the movie was happening because of his death, or if it was just in my little nerdy circle that we were excited because the son of Bruce Lee was going to be in a movie, and we didn't have any concept that the rest of the world was like, what are you talking about? What? This
is a year of like some amazing and some garbage movies. Including
it's also a Miramax and Dimension release. And
I think a big part of it though was like Bruce Lee's son is finally the star of a major motion picture.
Yeah, a movie that there's actually money behind.
Yes.
Right.
And look, like, this is the second coming. I feel like a lot of it was like, this is the second coming. And I do think in many ways, Brandon was set up to be like, if the Crow hits, Brandon then becomes one of the biggest movie stars in the world.
Right.
Brandon
just because of the lineage.
Was lined up for a bunch of shit after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At minimum, there's a 2-year period of everybody loving him, and then that's minimum.
That's the thing, though. I mean, the charisma he shows in that movie, I think he could have gone pretty further than just the trappings of action.
It's like his 5th acting role.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, on his IMDb, I think it's like 5 or 6.
Like, whereas Bruce was a master of like being stoic and like having this like sudden, like burning sad rage.
Bruce has the same. He has the same thing that Arnold had, where even if he wasn't the best actor, he had a good presence. He had a strong.
He could portray a scene without even talking.
Yeah, and Brandon has a lot of dialogue in The Crow and a lot of scenes where he's being very emotional. And that man, I think
Brandon was a better actor.
I think he was too. That
Definitely.
man conveys sad in a way I've not seen from many people. Like,
Well,
it's when he's in the apartment and I think it's Winston.
Think about all the emotions of his.
When he's talking to Ernie Hudson's character, like he's always just like palpably upset, but not trying to show it.
But it's why he was like perfectly cast as this character, because it's like if you look at his background, it's like, like he literally is the son of a legend that never met the father. He's kind of like JFK Jr. in many ways.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's a lot of similarities there. And again, another person who died, like in a very weird freak accident.
Yeah.
And like it's almost incomparable to any other situation. Because like it is, and again, it's like even if you the obvious answer is obviously like dumb shit with Brandon, with like the stuff. The stuff with Bruce though it's so fucking shady. Like there's so much weirdness.
I really have to lean towards the Chinese mafia being the ones who knocked him off. Like it makes sense.
That is, and again, that is what I have literally always heard my entire life from my grandma. Was talking about like, oh yeah, the Chinese mafia totally killed Bruce Lee, and they put a curse on their family.
Well,
this is before Brandon Lee dies. They're like, oh yeah, we're waiting until Lee dies.
Yeah, to me, that both your grandma both adds some legitimacy and takes some away, because it's your grandma, and grandmas make things up. A lot of white grandmas in America will just tell you that you are related to the Cherokee. If you live in America, they will just say that as if it's a thing.
My grandma was not white.
I know, I'm just saying. That's a
Arlen,
thing that white grandmas do.
You're telling me I'm not the handsomest boy on earth.
You're Eric. I'm sorry to break it to you. But my point is, I don't want to say that your grandma said that you were related to the Cherokee. That's what I'm getting at.
What I'm saying is more like, that is how deep this kind of thought process into the Bruce Lee thing, like it permeated Asian culture.
Well, that was going to be my point. There is like the fact that your grandmother and your mother are Korean, and they're like, oh yeah, no, Bruce Lee was killed by the Chinese mafia. Like that gives you an idea of how far-reaching his influence was. Just in general. So I don't know. The Chinese mafia thing it rings the most true out of those.
I would believe that over the fucking ancient martial arts cabal, like Shang Tsung.
Yeah, the ancient
with like fucking M. Bison was
yeah, the ancient martial arts cabal is like ridiculous, but it's like
dumbest thing I've ever heard.
The martial arts cabal is very goofy.
It's so funny.
But like at this time, also, it's like
who is in this cabal? Like,
but I want it to be true. That's the sad thing. Like,
here's the thing, though,
at
the time, though, like, what is the difference between like a Chinese mafia and the Chinese government? Like, how big of a separation is there?
Yeah,
and one could argue it's still the same thing.
With the president for life.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, not to go into a whole tear about the Chinese film industry, but if you hear from people who work in Hong Kong, there is a slight difference. The mafia just would ask for like money on the set, and the Chinese government will come and be like, "You should put the camera there," and then that's the last they'll say about it. And if you don't,
oh, go ahead, Lou.
I was to say the last picture I gave is apparently like where he was found, like laying. So he's dead center in the middle of the bed.
That is weird.
It seems very placed, right?
Yeah.
You don't sleep in. You don't lay down to take a nap in the middle of the bed.
No.
I mean,
not like that. You pick a pillow. You don't sleep in between the pillows.
Not in that exact position.
You don't put your arms
no.
out.
Yeah,
Unless
you don't.
like
You don't Jesus it.
Unless you're very drugged and you're not even intending to lay down, you're just sort of like.
It's hard to tell, but
falling.
I think in the picture his legs are over the end of the bed.
Right.
It doesn't look like it. It looks like there's
It's hard to tell because
he's a very short man.
He's a very short man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know we've joked about in the chats before, but like there is I didn't know before looking into this about that the woman who gave him the pills was his mistress.
Oh, you didn't know about that?
I did not know about that. I just thought it was a quote unquote friend.
No,
I didn't know he had mistresses either because that's not a detail I ever look into.
Oh yeah,
well, that was the thing. They kind of tried to cover up his
infidelity.
Well, because one of the things I looked at was Chuck Norris had said that he had seen, according to Chuck Norris, Bruce taking muscle relaxers.
Interesting.
At least that's what Chuck says, and I guess he just saw him take a pill. But again, it's hard to know any truth because there's so much. Is it cover-ups because of who he was to protect his image? Or is it cover-ups to protect the people involved in not wanting him to become to kind of make an example out of him?
Column A, column B, I would say. Just a little bit of both.
That, and I think some of it too is just as Americans will never really understand some of the cultural reasons why some things might be done the way they were done, regardless of legality of them.
It could honestly be a government/mob thing. It doesn't matter how big you are, you do not cross us.
Exactly.
We will take out the biggest thing on the earth.
Yeah, we'd rather have it dead than out of our control.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on the whole, why two generations both died and all that thing. I mean, I wasn't really joking when we first sort of opened this part about the whole devil at the crossroads thing. If you told me, and it was from a pretty legitimate source, that their family had made some deal way, way back, that a grandfather or a relative had made sort of an equivalent to a crossroads deal with some Chinese spirit,
demon of some sort.
I wouldn't be shocked
at all. With the devil.
Yeah, they're sort of their version of that.
The only thing though is that kind of takes away from the very documented hard work of Bruce.
Yeah,
because it's very documented of how he grinded his way.
I'm thinking more just generalized prosperity, I guess, or not even prosperity, just survival. It could just be help us survive this war that is coming. Because if you were in China during the Japanese invasion and you were on the coastline, I don't actually know where on the mainland Bruce was from, or if he even lived on the mainland. But if you were even in Hong Kong, the Japanese did some fucked up things, and they killed a lot of people.
Well, that's for
making it to the end.
There's a reason why the Japanese and the Nazis in the 30s.
Yeah, definitely. So, just making a deal to get through that, to be
he was
in
born
one piece at the end
in San Francisco.
Yeah, he was an American citizen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be it too. It could just be making.
Well, that goes to I mentioned his wife. There was a lot of tension on the Chinese side over the fact that he, although ethnically Chinese, was not really in the spirit of China and being Chinese.
And that's what ties me back, like I keep saying, to the mafia angle, is that he was the biggest thing for China, because I mean he definitely, ask 10 people on the street and 9 of them are going to say oh yeah, Bruce Lee was from China.
When I went to Italy last year and I had a Bruce Lee shirt on, and literally a boat guy was Bruce Lee, and gave me a fist bump.
Yeah.
It's
because they had because there was a spaghetti kung fu craze also, not just a spaghetti western craze. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But with him being so heavily identified with China and Chinese culture and ideas and whatnot, it makes sense that they would automatically be like, well, he's ours. Like the race giraffes from the Chappelle show.
Well,
and
the big thing is though, is like he's not even like Chinese. His family is from Hong Kong,
right?
Which is a slightly different.
He's British Chinese.
Well, because of that, he can be claimed by so many different people, though. That's
he had dual citizenship. So he's born in America, but his family is ethnically Chinese, but Chinese via Hong Kong, which was a British colony at the time.
Oh, I thought Hong Kong. I'm sorry. I thought Hong Kong was part of, what is that? Taiwan, the island off the coast.
No, that's why there's this. That's why there are these problems that they're having right now.
Hong Kong was part of the British Empire that they gave back to China, but they are so different culturally.
I'm sorry, everyone. I'm fading.
No, it's very confusing. Basically, they signed a lease for like 100 years. Like it's literally like it's described as a lease. Like after X number of years, you will give this back to whoever is in control of mainland China. And that happens to be the communist China that is currently in power, so they get it back. Also, the one China rule makes it so that we can't give it to Taiwan, even if we wanted to, because that means that any country that acknowledges Taiwan is automatically at war with the People's Republic of China.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
It is why there's a shit ton of issues right now with the Mulan. It is why different clothing lines, I can't remember what it was. There was like a big clothing line recently that had Taiwan listed as like a separate thing, and the protesters were wearing that shirt because it pisses off mainland China.
That's hysterical, actually.
Yes, it is such a it is such a deep dive of like politics that
and the thing about the Milan thing is that actress came out and was like, "Oh yeah, I stuff with the police," and people were like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Yeah, because she has a gigantic communist gun to her head.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The better answer would have been silence.
But she's not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should probably wrap it up before we go too far into Chinese American politics and so on and so forth.
I would say I'm just glad. I love talking about this stuff as I was a big Bruce Lee fan, a big Kung Fu movie fan, and it's such a weird, interesting thing.
I'm the same way. Not to keep the conversation going, but like my dad, was hell bent on making sure Bruce Lee got into my life because I've talked about my dad a bunch on the show, I guess, and to you guys as well. And I'm assuming he's already mythological in everyone's eyes.
He is.
Okay, my dad's a former black belt as well.
Wow.
And there's a picture of him at 17 years old with black sweatpants on, black, long, dark flowing hair, midair, doing a roundhouse kick to a punching bag. Bruce Lee was my fucking dad's idol, and he had tons and tons of karate books. He loved Bruce Lee to death. And my dad is the reason that Bruce Lee is in my life so much.
Yeah. Bruce Lee is the reason why martial arts exists in America.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hands down.
Yes.
My dad taught me how to. My dad taught me how to form a fist for a punch, and told me, "Hey, don't put your thumb there; you'll break it."
You gotta tuck it.
Yep.
That and punch like you're trying to hit the thing behind the person.
Never heard that before. That is interesting.
Yeah. That was actually, if I remember correctly, that was something I read that Bruce Lee had said. Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, then. Yeah, I think this makes for a solid episode too. Probably would start earlier, but we had some lingering technology issues that I hope don't come back to bite us in the ass. And Hunter,
reset your computers, people.
Yes.
Just turn them off once a week, and
Hunter was out helping a friend. I'm sure he's back the next time we do this. Much like Shadow Zone that I initially said last time we did this is going to be kind of a when it happens, kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure out where this lies as far as scheduling goes, but it'll probably take the place of something. We're not really sure what it is. But we really enjoy doing this. This is a thing we kind of didn't really know we loved talking about as much until we started doing all those spooky after darks. So if you listen to us regularly, or if you're inevitably eventually one of the people who heard me and Arlen on Movie Dumpster and decided to give us a listen, fucking thank you. Because at some point Joe is gonna be on this show, especially now that he's vocalized.
Yeah.
Like, you better fucking put me on that shit.
We just need to not ask him like an hour before. I think that might be a good idea.
Yeah, I gotta tell him. I gotta tell him like a week in advance. The problem is, I think we have to plan these shows out in a week in advance. We never do.
Yeah.
But I've been Connor McGraw, and Movie Dumpsters Blockbuster Bombs came to the informal end when me, Arlen, Sean, and Joe recorded the Green Lantern episode. That movie's a fucking turd. I don't know. I have nothing else to say. That movie sucks.
Yeah.
And like, if there's an apologist out there who hears it, you're wrong.
All
right.
I think that's a movie that there are no apologists for.
There are.
I'm sure there's some people in the Phantom Zone group who would apologize for that movie.
That movie's bad. It's boring. It's there's nothing endearing about it, and anything good about it just makes you think, wow, this could be in a much better film, and it's in this fucking giant 6-foot pile of shit. That movie's really bad. But after that, we're moving to bi-weekly, and then we're gonna start putting together our trick or trash stuff. And I think then we're gonna roll right into trashing through the snow, and then after that, take our annual break that I think we've put together and continue at bi-weekly. So there's that to look forward to, and 13th Warrior should be out soon. I fucking love that.
I can't wait.
God, I love that movie.
I love that
we should
movie
do
so
an AD
much.
special for that one. Actually, that's what I say.
For a 13th Warrior?
Yeah, why not?
I don't
kind of
mind.
want to
Like a
read the book.
post-mortem?
I
That's
kind of want to
fucking-
read the book.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too, actually.
Yeah.
And after hearing some stuff about it from the book that Joe was talking about, a lot of it kind of informs the movie and the story a little better.
Oh.
Well, they cut like an hour out of the movie.
Oh, I know. There's a 3-hour cut somewhere, and we want it. And
I want it.
since we have now become responsible for putting Howard the Duck in Endgame.
He isn't in it.
Yeah, and you know what? And we recorded Howard the Duck as a joke because Endgame was coming out, and then Endgame came out, and Howard the Duck was in it. We also kept calling Howard the Duck our Endgame. And we talked in length about how there is a rated R cut of Tammy and the T-Rex that has lots of cutout gore, and now that is coming out as well. So if our powers over the universe are legitimate, we would like to see a 3-hour cut of the Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we found out that when I found out that those people in those caves were basically Neanderthals that hadn't evolved yet, a lot of stuff in that movie makes a lot more fucking sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's Beowulf with an Arab guy in it.
Yes.
I mean, here's what I'm hearing out of this. An episode on one of the shows needs to be done about the Keep, because I need the 3-hour version of that movie as well, because it's lost to time.
You know, I think I can convince Joe to watch the Keep for the show.
Because I that movie it's infuriating, but the 3-hour cut exists and it must be good.
That movie is just like it's such a weird fucking Tangerine Dream, Ian McKellen. Like, it feels like something I saw when I was sick, or like something I had a dream of when I was like had 105 fever. Like, and then woke up like, whoa.
I don't know why.
Zombie Nazis.
I kept thinking of like, I don't know why when you said the Keep, I was like Dragonheart.
No,
it's doing an episode where we just all do Sean Connery.
I think
we just don't speak for
Dragonheart is
yourself.
also eventually going to be on the table too, because we talked about that as well. Because we've said we want to shift away from doing just cinematic trash, because like Pluto Nash, I have to say, beat the shit out of us. That movie is just bad. There's just nothing else to say, but it's just bad. So we're gonna try.
The robots have dicks.
I don't give a fuck if the robots had 7 dicks, okay? I don't care if they were just robot dicks with faces where their crotches should be, okay? we're gonna stick back to lost gems, undiscovered films, unappreciated films, and stuff like that. So we're not gonna do these stinkers all the time anymore. We're gonna do once in a while, but like they're like stuff that's truly bad and like irredeemably bad is not fun to watch nor talk about. So we're not gonna subject ourselves to it. Kind of like
Supergirl.
Kind of like Joe and Arlen can attest to this. Joe did give us credit for sticking to CW reviews as long as we did.
Yeah,
because
I would rather do
like,
CW
he
reviews.
was like, I respect the shit out of you guys for doing that. He's like, because I fucking couldn't.
There's only 2 movies. There's only one movie I've ever stopped, and only one movie I've ever been like, kill me. Kill Me was Supergirl. The only movie I've ever stopped was Red Tails.
Oh God,
I was not
Red
expecting
Tails.
Red Tails.
Red Tails is hot garbage.
I frequently forget that George Lucas had a theatrical film that wasn't Star Wars, like in the 2000s.
If anybody says, "Oh, give it back to George Lucas," I just want to send them like a link to Red Tails.
Yeah, no, don't do that. I'm fine with Disney having it, even if everyone disagrees over it. But anyway, that's the movie dumpster plug. So I'm going to throw that off to somebody else because I'm drifting off in this chair over here. So
yeah, I think we're all a little bit out. Yeah, as Connor just said, I was recently on an episode of Movie Dumpster, which hopefully sounds good, for the most part. So yeah, I'm never watching Green Lantern again, ever. Period. You can't make me.
We're skipping it for the show if we ever have to do it. We're just gonna.
If we do it for
episode.
If we ever do it for this show, in the description it will say Connor and Arlen did this already. The rest of you, yeah. So that's a thing that will be happening. Once I get around to editing it, a very technical issues episode of LHP will be coming out where me and Eric Sayor talk about the movies that have come out so far this year, give our sort of thoughts on the ones we've seen and what we think is sort of in the awards race, possibly. Not as focused on that, but we sort of bring it up occasionally. So go listen to that when it comes out if you are curious about what's come out and you want to know what you should be renting and paying attention to on the various streaming services and all that. So yeah, I think that's all I got. MASH is coming back someday. I don't know.
I'm Eric Fedorczyk. You can find me at Eric_Fedor on Instagram. There's pictures of dogs and cats, food, and comics. I'm also floating around the Phantom Zone, trying to find more and more bizarre stuff to post, like lactating Wolverine, and Spider-Man with no pants on.
Repent, thou heathen! Repent, thou one!
Oh yeah, that I'm also repentant right now because I've lost some privileges. The other thing I wanted to point out that I didn't get to bring up when we were talking about Brandon Lee is, could it possibly be that Michael Massey, the guy who played Fun Boy, he had come across a liquid of some sort that somehow got onto the squibs, but he was also exposed to it? And could that have been mummy juice?
Did
You're
he
a bad
get it?
man. You're a very bad man.
See, I don't have to talk about Sonic eating things with his ass to piss you guys off. I can talk about mummy juice.
Did he get it from Michael Wincott, who had just stolen an Egyptian sword from a pyramid?
Possibly. There's the connection. Anyways, Lou, go ahead.
So we're into season 5 of Smallville Chronicles. We got Lois. We have Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer as, oh my God, I just blanked on the name.
Wait, what?
Who is Superman's, the computer bad guy? Brainiac. Spike from Buffy is Brainiac.
Computer bad guy.
Wow. My brain just like flatlined there.
Computer, why are you fighting me?
So you got that. Every Thursday we have And Now Comics. We've been talking about Hoxpox. Yeah. House of X and Powers of 10, as that's called. And kind of doing our questions. So we'll check those out every week. Legion Tunes will be back sometime, and then I will end with a quote: "The less effort you put in, the more powerful you will be."